Good morning, all. First, I would thank to the organizers for the invitation to present, to make this presentation here in this conference. And second, I would thank to my two co-authors, Federica Birginciali, which is here, and Monika Baumann, which is in Switzerland at home, for the preparation of this presentation. When we look to the market, to the situation of seeds now, we have a big concentration. You know it, that actually we have four big companies who are dominating 60% of the global seed market and agrochemical market. And those market shares of the five biggest companies in the European Union were about 75% for maize, 86% for sugar beets, and 95% for all the vegetable varieties or species. It's very, very high. We have to imagine, and we have to take into account when we go forward in this presentation. This is a map of the owners of these companies. It's from 2009, and you know that this concentration goes on. The upper half part of this slide is now one company, Bayer and Monsanto. They go together, and now I think 50% of the market is in this company. And when we look behind these companies, we know that big investors are the main owners of these two companies. In Bayer is a big investor, and it's the same which is in Monsanto, and it's the same which is also in other big companies. So behind these companies there are big investors, trust investors, who are the owners of this market. When we look at the European Union, we can see that in the public sector for plant breeding, only 40 million euros are invested per year for plant breeding projects. And in the private sector, it's 850 million. So it's a great disbalance. So our friends from Public Eye come to the conclusion that it needs another kind of plant breeding to change this devastating tendency. And this conclusion was done in 2014. I began to do this in 1984. We are now a non-profit association for biodynamic plant breeding. We are privately organized but dedicated to the common good completely. It's not it's private organized, but it's dedicated to the public. We are now a team of 12 employees and internships and bachelor students. We dedicate ourselves to develop cultivars with very good adaptation to low input agriculture. This is organic production, but it's also conventional extensive production. And we bred under IFOAM standards. We are financed by foundations, donations, by a part of royalties of our varieties, and by public research programs. You see down in the middle the new CEO of the company, and you see on the right side you see the team. We have now excuse me, The breeding program for wheat, we have released around 10 varieties from very, very different kind of type. We have types from near Landraces, but we have more intensive types because we have a large game of different locations and different situations of farmers, and we have to respect these different needs, very different needs. These varieties were reproduced in a couple of countries in Europe, from Latvia to Great Britain, from France to Italy and Poland. We have in Switzerland, those wheat varieties make now around 70% of the organic wheat production. In southern Germany, it's about 35%. And in the other countries, there are some spots of farms and transformers who need these varieties. We have a spelt breeding program with actually also 10 released varieties, also very different. We have for the type of old varieties, we have new varieties which are more intensive. Then we have a triticale program for bread making with triticale. This is a very, very good bread with a special taste. Then we have a durum wheat project in Italy with several partners. We have an emmer breeding with now one variety which is released. We have a sunflower project. I would like to speak about them later. Here we have peas, we have lupins, and we have maize populations, there is also one variety which is released, which is used in Switzerland, in Germany, and in France. Plant breeding is a really long way. I would show you just some steps. We begin with crossing, we have the population, we have line selection, we have variety testing, official testing, and multiplication, and all these steps need around 12 to 15 years. So in one generation of plant breeder, you can do about 3 or 4 cycles, and not more. This is the work of a life. 12 or 15 years from the first crossing to a new variety. So it needs to be that plant breeding must have a long-term focus. All our varieties have high vitality and wheat competition power. We need a very, very high stability in yield and in quality over the years. We heard from Belgium from 2016. It was a year which was really catastrophic in Europe. A lot of the yield for bread making was lost, and for such situations we need very stable varieties. We need for our varieties best leaf, air and grain health. We need a very good grain formation, specific weight, to have a good yield of flour and semolina yield. We are working also to enhance the nitrogen efficiency in combination with a good bread making quality, because we go into the market not for handmade bread, as we've seen before from in the last presentation, but we want to go into the market, into the bigger market, because in Switzerland 75% of the organic bread is sold by 2 retailers, Migros and Coop. And one of these retailers had made the mainstream of transformation from organic to from conventional to organic agriculture in the last 25 years. And we want to go into this market. And we have to go in this market, otherwise we are a small niche without efficiency in the world. Okay, this is the game of our varieties. And now I want to come to the main question, how to finance organic plant breeding. We have this couple of varieties. They were well liked in a lot of countries. And from this varieties, we become royalties of around 150,000 euros per year. 150,000 euros is a good amount. But you have to imagine that behind this 150,000 euros, we have produced 2,000 tons of seeds. And from these 2,000 tons of seed, 50,000 tons of breadwheat is harvested every year in these countries, in these different countries. And bread makers or bread making companies made 80 million kilos of bread from this breadwheat produced from our varieties. So we have on the finally for the consumer we have 80 million kilos of bread. On the other side we have 150,000 euros for the breeding for new varieties, and we need 10 times more to go on with our breeding programs. We need 10 times more, but in relation 80 million kilos of bread and 1.5 million need for breeding this project, it's nothing. It's really nothing. If you compare these two values, the bread and the breeding costs to go on with good varieties for the bread. That is the first point I would like to say you. It's nothing. The breeding is, when you see the amount, 1.5 million per year for this team, for this breeding programs, it's a lot. But in relation to what you can do with the products, with the varieties, it's nothing, really nothing. We speak about wheat, and in wheat the royalty for the breeder is around 10% of the seed costs. We have other type of plants. Here's a sample for maize, and in maize the breeder becomes around 50% of the seed costs. And when you see this difference, you can understand why the big companies produced maize, produce sunflowers, produce vegetable species, produce soya, because in this species you can gain a lot of money, really a lot of money. This is the big difference between cash crops for the breeder and basically species for the basic nutrition of the humans on the world. Here you see the normal food chain. We begin on the left side with breeding, then seed production, production of breadwheat, transformation, and last is the retailer, the point of sale to the consumer. In this value chain, you can see an added value from the breeding point to the selling point that this is a factor of 1,000. So if the consumer pays 1,000 euros on the selling point, 1 euro goes to the breeder on the other side. This is the balance. And in the conventional system, the farmer has to pay all the costs for breeding. Only the farmer. And he has not only to pay the cost for breeding, but he has also to pay the profit of the investors. This, I don't know if you understand really. The farmers have to pay not only the breeding of the varieties, but the farmer has to pay also the profit of the investors. Let's talk about our sunflower project, because the sunflower project was a nice project to go on with alternative financing models. In sunflower, there are patents. There are only varieties from 2 companies available. In Europe, you can find untreated seeds for organic farmers. And this is a problem for the companies who use sunflower oil. Sunflower oil is not only used for food, so it's also used for cosmetics. And if the consumers of cosmetics knows that there are Syngenta or Pioneer hybrid varieties in these products, it's a very sensitive market. We have talked about with a cosmetic company, and they saw the problem, and we begin a project to create genetic resources for organic breeding. We create basic populations. We create open population varieties with high oleic sunflower, because high oleic sunflowers have a very specific quality for oil. The quality is very stable, and so you don't need a net for conservation in cosmetics. It's very important. And afterwards, we have created a consortium of 11 companies who finance 1 breeder. And this is a very nice project, because the people who have a problem, they would like to try to find a solution for their problem and give us money to breed new varieties. And this is the solution. We have to find other partners in the food chain who know the problem of seeds, who know the problem of the seed market, and who financed partly those breeding projects. And there you can invest a lot of fantasy how to do this. To do this, you have to find connections between users and plant breeders to find good solutions. You have a large game to do this. One of the smartest idea to go on this way is the crop plant per mill. The seed ppm is very simple to do. Like the added tax value on the point of sale, you can take in 1 per mill, 1 euro per 4,000 euros, and you give in directly to the plant breeder. This is a very simple model, and we talk about now with retailers to do this, because this is communication to the consumer, when he can say this product has is consequently from the beginning, from the breeding to the end product, is organic. Because it's a problem when you buy, for example, an egg and you know that this hen consumes maize and soya from one of these big companies.
Can you begin to wrap up now, please?
Yep. Finally, we see that there are a lot of open questions and a lot of tasks to do. The market the organic market calls for a lot of seeds, and we know that actually 98% of the seeds used in organic agriculture are from conventional varieties. This is the actual state. We have to find solutions for this. And on the other side, the initiatives to create another kind of breeding are permanently underfinanced. So we have also this disbalance here. We need to find new methods of true cost and benefit accounting, and we need to monetize also these tasks. And overall, we need a lobby for breeding of seeds as a commons. And this is the last slide I show you. We know that ecological plant breeding that brings a lot of benefits to other commons, for agrobiodiversity, for ecosystem services, for human health, for respect and integrity of the nature, for knowledge and training. And if you want to know more, you can download this study, Seeds as a Commons, from our website, and you find a lot of inspirations to go on in this fight. Thank you.